But what's really cool and one of my favorite cars here at the show is this barn find Copo right here. One of the cars that I came here to the show to learn about is this 1967 pace car. And we have Phil over here. And Phil, you're the owner of this pace car, correct?
Yes, actually my wife owns it. I built it for her.
Okay.
You know, I brought the thing home in a bunch of boxes 30 years ago. When we bought this car, it had the same draw to the hobby as a Yenko at that time. That was before the supercar thing had really taken off.
How many would you say were built and used at the race on May 30th, 1967?
There were a total of 83 to 85 commitment cars. That's debated at this point.
Okay.
The reason I use the term 83 to 85, the activity book spells out who will get which car and how the assignments are. But the difference is General Motors also supplied some base models that were painted like these as well.
Now I see this one has a 350 in here, and the cars originally, at least the two cars, the ones that were on the track, or the one was on the track and then one was a backup car, is that correct?
Yes, number 92 was the main pace car.
Okay.
Number 90 was the backup pace car.
And they had 396s in them,
They
right?
had 396s. They were originally built 396, 375 as L78s. They sent the cars back to central office after they drove them around the track. The solid lifters made so much noise at speed, there was concerns that spectators would think there was something wrong with the engine. But in the late 60s, it was all about luxury. It was about being quiet. This car is all about that. It's about fingertip power steering. Very, very quiet, multiple mufflers on this car. They wanted these to show a sporty look, but in the same vein, they wanted them to be quiet and luxurious.
Well, I'm glad you answered that question for me, because when I've done research on these cars, it shows that they were 396s, but they only had 325 horse.
They were back converted.
So you're saying
they were back converted on the build order to hydraulic cam cars.
Like detuned almost.
They were detuned, yes.
Detuned,
yes,
just to make them quieter.
That's right.
Just to make them quieter.
Yeah.
Okay. And this car is a parade car, is that right? Or is that the way you would call that?
This car came in to Nanakaville Chevrolet.
Okay.
And the first thing it got the decals applied. That was the dealer that prepped it.
Gotcha.
The festival roundel was established on the quarter panel, which designated this for use with the 500 festival. The car was detailed to Eugene B. Hibbs, was the 500 festival chairperson.
Interesting.
It was assigned number 23, and then the wiring harness was cut and modified for trailer towing purposes. They spliced the wiring harness. The harness is still spliced today with the original splices that were created at that time. And the wiring harnesses were crude. They basically just had what you would consider a very, very cheap, lightweight boat towing harness.
Does it have a tow hitch?
No, there's no tow hitch on this vehicle.
Gotcha, okay.
Although tow hitches were put on the vehicles that were used for that purpose. This car, even though the harness was modified, this car ended up being a parade car for dignitaries. Hibbs never towed anything with this.
Okay.
Michael Landon rode on the parade boot. Dan Blocker rode next to him, and Lauren Green, all three of the Bonanza boys, rode three abreast on these cars in the 500 parade.
You can see it says number 23 there on the rear view mirror, and those were found in multiple locations. Is that correct, or were they?
Well, it depended on which dealer prepped them.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. One dealer would put them on the one side, which would be the side that one is on, which is the driver's side. That was Nanakaville. The other dealer that would prep it would put it on the other side, and that's how they could tell if there was a problem with the car, which dealer had prepped the car, so they could immediately know which dealer to send the car back to if there was an issue.
Gotcha. Now, one thing that's different than the pace car from '69 that's behind this car is that the 396 versions of these cars actually had the blacked out tail pan. Would that also be correct?
That would be correct. Also in '67, that black tail panel was deleted and you got a white tail panel on it. However,
can you explain that to me?
On a dealer car, a dealer replica,
Gotcha, okay.
It was blacked out.
So you're saying
but on commitment fleet cars built Copo,
the 80 sub that were basically on the day, they didn't have the blacked out tail pans?
Yes, commitment fleet show cars.
Gotcha.
The black tail panel was deleted for
Gotcha.
white.
But
and
there
you'll
was-
find that in the engineering build order. It's actually written in there for the actual pace car to delete that white tail panel.
Now this one has AC or didn't have AC?
No, yeah, no air conditioning.
No air conditioning?
Yeah.
But you could get one with air conditioning in, couldn't you?
Not in a commitment fleet vehicle. In a special order later car.
That was the later car.
You could get,
That was later
through
car.
like a C1 car, you
Okay.
could get one with air conditioning that way.
Now, the guy who actually won the 51st Indianapolis 500,
AJ Foyt.
AJ Foyt, yeah, he was a Ford guy. So he, I read, actually declined his pace car. Is that correct?
That's
or?
right. He declined the car, according to AJ, and this is not an urban legend. AJ wanted one with air conditioning because he lived in Texas.
Gotcha.
So they built AJ another car
Out of that second run,
out
right?
of that second batch that was built for the Mosport Canada promotion in June.
Okay.
And they shipped him his pace car with air conditioning.
So he did end up taking one, basically.
Yeah, he did end up taking one. Eventually gave it to the maid, from what I understand.
Oh.
She let her boyfriend use it, and he got in some trouble with the law, and that car drifts into urban legend from that point, and I'll let the hobby decide what the real story is on that.
So it's
But
still
that
around?
car-
It's not around?
That
or?
car's disappeared.
Disappeared.
Yeah, nobody's found it yet. I don't know if anybody ever will.
I'm a huge fan of vintage jackets, just anything in general. Is this an original jacket?
That is
that a
one of
reproduction,
the
or-
original jackets.
Okay,
And I'll show you a picture of it at the track.
and how many of those would they have made?
Very, very, very few.
Same amount as they made the cars, you think?
Well, no, probably 5 maybe at the most,
Oh,
I
wow.
would think.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the jacket at the track in 1967. Here's the pace car driver with the same jacket on. This particular jacket was made after the race at Zimmerman's request. And they went and they found another jacket, they made it, and Zimmerman's only request was, hey, I want my name on the front breast. Make sure you put my name on the front breast. The jacket came in as a large, missized as an extra large. So when he got the jacket, the 68s were almost out at that point in time. It didn't have his name on it, and it was too big to wear. And he got pissed because he knew if he wore it in the plant, everybody would make fun of him. They'd call him Camaro, because the original track jackets had Camaro on it, and the specification was to make, they never changed the specification to put Zimmerman's name on it.
So he never wore it, basically.
He never wore it. He put it away. He got
That's-
mad. He never wore it. He put it away.
That's why it looks brand
and
new.
then I had to pay an arm and a leg to get the jacket.
I
later.
love collecting jackets, and that is just, it looks like it was made yesterday. That's why.
Yeah, well,
it's-
that's because it was brand new in the wrapper and put away and never worn.
Yep.
It was literally in the original plastic bag when I got it.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Phil, I want to thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thank you for basically going over everything with us here and talking about the pace car. You've cleared up a lot of answers for me. And like I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet about these cars, and you're definitely the guy to talk to. So, again,
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And you enjoyed the show.
Yep, you too. One of the cars here at the show that has the biggest presence is this 1968 YENKO Camaro. What's cool for 68 in the Yenkos is that it's actually the first year that you would see this YENKO badge on the car. They do have an advertisement over here for a 67 YENKO, and you can see that there's no YENKO logo on it. It just says Camaro 427. It does have Pontiac rims, and there was a Pontiac dealership down the street from YENKO, and the reason that they chose these wheels is because they're 1 inch wider, providing a little bit more traction for the 427 that's down inside this car. Now, this car would have originally started as a 396 car from the factory with all of the suspension goodies, which made it easier for the mechanics for YENKO to actually convert. It was faster. Later in 69, they would already be converted by Chevrolet, and they would just apply the logos to the car. Now, this car has a fiberglass hood on it, and you can see that there isn't actually a hood latch underneath there. It is just held down by hood pins, and YENKO would actually give you that black stick there when you purchased this car. As we walk down the car here, they do all have a YENKO Supercar serial number, and it's on the inside there, right there You can see the tag, kind of the silver tag, as well as these cars would have also had a 140 mile an hour speedometer. They would have had the Stewart Warner gauges down at the bottom, as well as the sun tack on the side. In '68, the factory did apply the spoiler in the back here for Yenko, and they only made about 64 of these cars in 1968. These cars, like I said, were converted from a 396, and the way that that happened is they would actually take the 396 block out, they would put the 427 block in, and then they would actually put the 396 heads back on this car, as well as the intake in car. Something special about this car is that this is a one-owner Yenko car. The gentleman that bought this car brand new. I believe it is the only '68 Yenko in existence that is still owned by the original owner. And you can see his name, George Edwards, right there. Now that we saw the '68 Yenko, this is actually a Dick Harrell Camaro. This is a '69. Now, who is Dick Harrell? Dick Harrell is known as Mr. Chevelle. Of course, he did help lead the charge putting 427 big blocks in Camaros for Nicky back in 1967 and '68, then kind of teaching Don Yenko to do something similar. Mr. Chevelle is also known for being the driver of the year in 1969, and he was also named driver of the decade in 1970. And you can see that this car is converted to a 427 big block. It did, however, originally start out as a L78 396 car. And we can see here on here, it says it was a X66 style trim group. And here's also a picture of Mr. Chevelle. Now this car specifically is different because it does have the two 4-barrel setup on the front. They only made about 5 that I know of Dick Harrell '69 Camaros, and all of them are they're a little bit different. This is the only one known to have a two 4-barrel setup on this car, and the original owner that purchased this vehicle had issues with that setup and actually caught on fire and burnt down the fiberglass hood. He then requested another setup from Dick Harrell, which was sent over to him, and now this car has been restored back to the way it was when it was brand new. You can see it does have Kragers in the front here. It does have some MH Race Masters pie crusts in the back. But a cool thing about a Harrell Camaro is that you could actually get a big spoiler on the back of this car. These cars, this one does not have it, but one of the 5 cars does. Also available in 1969, Mr. Chevelle sold Chevelles. They only made about 5 of those Dick Harrell Chevelles, and we don't have one of those on display here for you at Carlisle today. However, we do have several rare '69 Chevelles, and this one behind us is a '69 Copo. What exactly is a '69 Copo? Well, that's a Central Office Production Order car, which would have had the iron block L72 427 down inside. That would have made it a 1 Copo. The car behind us here is a double Copo. And what I mean by double Copo is this car also got the sports car conversion handling package, or the 9737. I'll show you here on the, yeah, you can see that it got the 9561 Copo code, which got the 427, as well as the 9737 sports car conversion, which would have gotten updated sway bars, it would have gotten basic disc brakes, it would have gotten a couple heavier duty springs just to make it handle a little bit better on the track. Now in 1969, they made about 323 Copo Chevelles. 99 of those Chevelles would actually be converted into Yenko Super Chevelles. These cars were available from Yenko in 1969, and they only made 99 of these cars from Yenko, with 55 of them being a 4-speed, and this one happens to be a 4-speed as well. Now, they were converted basically from the factory as a L72 Copo car, and then Yenko would apply the stripes down the sides of these cars. Funny story about the stripes is that they put an ad in Canonsburg about wanting to find people that were stripers. Well, they actually got a lot of phone calls from girls thinking that he was trying to find strippers, and those girls were ended up actually putting the stripes on these vehicles. So that's why Yenko had girls putting stripes on cars. I'm standing here with Lance, and Lance is the co-owner of Carlisle Events here, the place that puts on all of these basically special shows that we attend, and they go and find all of these cars to bring to us to see That way we can present them to you as the audience. And Lance, how are you?
Good, man.
Awesome,
I'm
awesome.
at a car show.
Oh,
How
I
could you not be
know.
good?
It's GM show at that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, near and dear to my heart.
Basically, Lance just kind of wanted to go and give you guys a brief history of what Carlisle is, how it started, so that you guys at home kind of know why we're here.
Well, the best part is we talked about it, and
Right.
then I was like, there's a timeline right on the wall. So this is really easy. I can cheat and tell you guys a little bit about it. So it actually started in 1974, the car shows. Prior to that, you're looking at the wall, you see all the cool pictures. It showcases, before that it was at fairgrounds, and they hosted, essentially, just think of like carny type events.
Kind of like this right here, right?
Yeah, exactly. There was horse racing. You know,
Oh, Joey Chitwood, was he here?
he was, a long time ago.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
So, I mean, there's so many things that happened throughout the years. You can see the building went down. We had a big fire back in '95. So a lot of stuff occurred. And then as we walk down, we'll see some more
Sure.
through the years.
And so how old were you in 1974?
I was 2 years old.
2 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So my dad and Bill are the ones that founded it, started it, and, you know, filled it up to capacity, you know. So it was pretty wild. So that shows a good overview of the fairgrounds.
Originally, there was a track that kind of went around.
Exactly. We talked about the horse racing. Well, we did demolition derby on that track. We did some racing on that track. There's just a lot of good memories. But again, that's my dad and then Bill, the founders.
Now, was there a certain car that maybe you guys found that first year? I think I remember.
Well, the irony of that was they got kicked out of a show back in the early 70s, and then
Okay.
they said, okay, we're going to create our own event. They got kicked out because their car was too new.
Oh,
So they said, hey, why not open the doors to everybody?
gotcha. That makes perfect sense.
So that was a Corvette, and it was at Hershey. So
Gotcha.
yeah, they ended up getting booted.
What are some of the big significant dates maybe of Carlisle as we walk through here? Is
Yeah,
this?
I mean, you're going to see, you know, 75 to 77, we decided to start Spring Carlisle, and then we decided to add another one in 80.
Okay.
So this is a great way for me to cheat, because quite frankly, I I would need this.
You lived through
timeline.
it, but you know.
So kudos to our team for putting this together. 82 was our very first Corvette to
First
Carlisle,
Corvette to
which
Carlisle.
I love that show.
I love
Obviously, my
that.
dad.
That shows that it just brings out so many people.
It does. It's a great event.
And if you've never been to it, I definitely recommend.
Always at the end of August, so
Yep.
you got to come out for that one. We used to be called Carlisle Productions, then we changed it
Oh, I
later.
didn't know
so
that.
yeah,
That's before I was born, so that makes sense.
there you go. It all makes sense now. And we've done a bunch of different shows, which I'm sure your viewers have heard of: Truck Show, Chrysler Show,
Of course.
and again, it just rips on through the years.
What is your favorite show here? Which one do you wake up and are just the most excited to go to?
That's a loaded question.
I know it
I
is.
actually love them all.
I do
really
too. I really do.
It's
They're-
funny
they're all
because-
different.
And I found, to the point, it's the people. I mean, everybody coming together and enjoying the shows. That's what it's all about. And every one is slightly different, as
It
you
is.
see. So, I mean, for me, I just enjoy everything and bringing people together that are like-minded and having fun. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And you guys do. I mean, you bring out the best cars, kind of like this one right here.
Oh, that thing's awesome.
You know, this 57.
The more you look at it, the cooler it is. I mean, it's wild.
I mean, it's surrounded by GM royalty in general, but you know,
It is.
a Black Widow 57 fuel injected. You know,
And that's the cool part. I mean, growing up, you know, I got to see the best and the best of the world literally coming to my backyard. So I'm very fortunate, love what I do. You know, my dad started, I just happen to love doing it too. So it worked out.
and that's kind of similar how, you know, I don't live very far away from here, so I would almost consider this kind of my backyard as well.
yeah.
You know, and you come here, you meet the people that own the cars, they know everything about them, then you learn more here than what you would on the internet, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
You got to
you're-
come and see
and
it.
you're able to touch it, and the people are so nice.
And that's what it's about. Just as you said, people are nice. Go out, talk, and enjoy it. So
Absolutely. Was there anything else you'd like to tell the audience here for your 50th anniversary or anything?
come on
or-
out, say hi to any of us. Our staff's extremely friendly. We're all about having fun. So the shows are for everybody. So we always encourage people to give us information back. You know, if you don't like something, let us know, because the party's for you.
Awesome, Lance.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So we just learned about Copo Chevelles. This is a 1969 Copo Camaro. And I'll show you that we know it's a Copo Camaro just by the way that it looks on the firewall. You can see that it does have the big block heater box here with the big block hoses. Of course, and it also has the ZL2 cowl induction hood cutout right there. And of course, right beside that would be the divot for the RS. Now, what's cool about this car is it does have its tag on here. You can see it says X44. If it was built in the Norwood plant, it would be an X11 or an X44 car for a Copo build, but it also says D80, which means that it got the spoiler back there in the back as well as the front spoiler on this car. So if you're trying to find a Copo Camaro in somebody's backyard, what you want to look for is the big block heater box, and you want to look for the ZL2 cowl induction hood cutout. Now, Copo Camaros are the only other Camaros that got the ZL2 cowl induction hood standard from the factory other than the pace cars. You could get a cowl induction hood on a Z28 similar to the one that's over there, but these cars got them from the factory every time. They also would have dual exhaust, so there would be a plate behind this car, and we can tell it's an X44. It doesn't have the chrome around the windows or the gills on the side here. But what's really cool and one of my favorite cars here at the show is this barn find Copo right here. This one really has not been messed with. We can see that it was in Cortez silver, and Copos had the silver grille in the front. Remember, the SS cars had the black ones, and you can see that the Copo also just got the blue bow tie. They were pretty much just like a plain Jane car with the big engine down inside. And these cars would have also had a specific rear end with a BE code to a Copo. This car, I'm not sure how many miles are on this car, but this car is extremely, extremely cool. And one thing I think is cool is it does have a Playboy bunny on the ashtray on the inside from the original owner. What do you guys think about this barn find Copo? Leave us a comment in the comments down below. One of the coolest cars I think on display is this 1969 Hearst Olds. Probably the most recognized Hearst Olds from the years that they were available. However, this one's known for the mailbox style opening hood scoop on the front of this car. Now, they only made 906 of these, so they're extremely, extremely rare. I know where a few of them are in a barn, but they're obviously not for sale. But in 1968, this scoop was not there. It's basically the same car as the 68. However, in 68, the scoop was underneath the car. In 69, they put it on the top, and you can see that it is powered by a 455. Of course, they were available in all white, and they do have the gold striping down the side. And I'm not sure, yeah, this one looks like it is an automatic. But these cars also got specific wheels to the Hearst Olds in 1969, something that's, I don't know, I just think it's pretty cool. I'm standing here next to Tim Schell, and Tim actually owns a bunch of really high-profile Camaros. And Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, thanks.
Awesome, awesome. And what is the car that you've brought to us here at the show?
So this here is car number 62 in the ZL1 list of numbers. It is the only red ZL1 ever produced. They only built 2 red ZL1s, one with red black and one with red interior.
Okay.
It is, the car was sold new to a guy named Johnny Tripp on his birthday.
Oh.
One hell of a birthday present.
Absolutely.
And then, so he had the car for about a year, and the car was stolen from him, and they took the original engine out of the car. He fought with the insurance company to try to get a warranty engine put in the car. They would not do it. They paid off the remainder of his bill, money left owing on the car, and he was left with the car without an engine. So he sold the car after a year of ownership. And then the car was found by Ed Canine, who is the Copo Connection. He's one of the most famous ZL1 experts out there.
Gotcha.
And he's the one who restored the car. He knew the original engine for this car was out there, but back in the late 80s, when he was looking at the car, the guy wanted $20,000 for the original engine for this car back in like 86, 87 or whatever. And so when I purchased the car, I knew that the engine did exist for this car. And then a guy, his name is John, they call him Johnny, he found the original engine to the car. He built a tribute car around the original ZL1 engine.
Was it red?
Yeah, and he built the exact tribute to this car.
Okay.
So it was a red tribute ZL1 with the original engine in it out of this car.
Okay.
And so just last year, I got the opportunity to purchase that ZL1 red tribute car with the original engine in it out of this car. So I haven't reunited them and put it into the car yet. I might just put it on a stand beside the car.
Oh, so
I
that's
really
not
liked
the
it.
original engine in there right now?
This isn't the original engine in
Okay.
the car. I have the original engine for the car, and I may just put it on a display stand because I like driving this car.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
and
makes
I've
sense.
showed it.
I know a lot of guys that do that, actually.
Yeah.
That's common. And the
like-
reason this is important is because that would be an all aluminum 427 big block, which was one of 69.
Yeah, only 69 of these cars were ever built with the all aluminum ZL1 block. It is.
I don't think that detracts the value of the car, in my opinion. If you
No.
have the original block beside it,
Yeah.
because it does make the car more drivable, like you said.
Right, and I've showed this car all over the place. I had it at the Supercar reunion.
Okay.
And ran it down the quarter-mile track, did a big smoky burnout on the way back.
Awesome.
I've had it at the Camaro Nationals. I've had it at multiple car shows. I really enjoy this car. I enjoy showing this car. It's one of my favorite cars. I'm a big fan of red, and I am very proud to be the owner of this car.
Awesome.
For sure.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it out, Tim. It's a beautiful, beautiful car.
Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The last cars that I want to talk about here in Building T at Carlisle GM Nationals 2024 are the 1970 Yenko Deuce Novas. And I have a buddy of mine named Joe, and me and Joe have been trying to do a video for quite some time about his Nova. And Joe, this one behind us is yours, correct? This green one?
Yes, that's mine, yes.
Awesome, awesome. What can you tell us to somebody who is not familiar with the Yenko Deuce? Can you give us kind of like a basic general understanding of what we're looking at?
Yeah, what I understand is they made 175 of these with 7 different colors. This one is forest green. This car is a 4-speed. It has the original motor. It doesn't have the original trans. It has the original BCW rear in it, which is a Copo rear, F41 suspension. And these cars Yenko had because people with insurance, the young kids had a lot of money they had to spend to get insurance in. So what Yenko did is he ordered, the way I understand, is 175 of these cars. So when you went to the insurance company, you told them you had a Nova with a small block in, with a 350, and your insurance, it didn't have a big block, it didn't have the high horse motor, but these had the LT1 360 horsepower engines in them that were in the Corvettes and the Z28s.
Now, these were called mini muscles back then, and advertisements from Yenko that I've saw, and that's exactly right, is they were basically a cheat for the insurance to get a car that went fast in this type of package. And I was told that the LT1 that's down inside this engine, or down inside this car, it's actually a detuned from a Corvette. Is that right? Or
Well, no, I think these were rated
they-
at 360 and the Corvettes were rated at 370, I think,
Okay.
because they had transistorized ignition in them. That's why they were rated at 370.
Okay.
But if you notice, they put the 350 turbo fire sticker on, but they cut off the horsepower rating. So if the insurance company went to look, they didn't see the horsepower rating on the car. So they all had rubber mats, they had bench seats. It was a plain Jane Nova till they put the F41 suspension on it.
Mind if I look at the rubber mats and
Sure,
seats?
sure.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I also know that these did have basically a 750 or 760 Holly on them or something like that, or
They had the same carburetor that the Z28 had. This is, I believe, is a 4555 780 vacuum secondary carburetor.
okay, which would have also been a big block in 1968 as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And Joe, what is this color called?
This is forest green.
Forest green.
Yes.
And are these Atlas wheels?
These are original Atlas wheels. Brian Henderson from the Supercar Workshop had those, and I purchased those from him about 3 years ago. And then I met a gentleman who went in the building where these wheels were actually made, and in the corner yet from the 70s were new old stock caps, stickers, screws, lug nuts, and washers. So I bought 3 sets of NOS sets of those.
I've never seen the actual
And
caps
those
on
are
the
actual
outside.
that Yenko bought through Atlas.
Wow.
But these were a 14x6 wheel where the original wheels were 14x7.
Oh.
So if you notice on this car, the tire is skinnier
It is.
on a 14x6 wheel. He has the same type of mag. I don't think it's an Atlas, and that tire is wider. That's on a 14x7. So the Atlas were 14x6.
And how long have you had this car again, Joe?
I've owned this car, I think April is 3 years.
3 years.
I bought it from Kevin Harbaugh. This car has a letter from Vince Emmy. It's one of the top 5 Yenko deuce bodies in the country.
And what does that mean as far as like condition goes? Metal to
Original,
the car?
original sheet metal. Car was restored in '94. This car was painted 30 years ago.
Oh my, I did not know that.
Restored by Burkholder's Restorations in Paradise, PA.
Well, I saw it outside yesterday when you arrived here, and I mean, it is simply stunning. What can you tell us about that tack? Because I don't really know a whole lot about those. On
What
these
I
cars.
understand on those is, I think they installed them at Yenko,
Okay.
just like they had the kids from school that put the stripes on them back then. They put the tacks on. It was something that Yenko added with the package. And the Supercar Workshop actually didn't restore the car, but they did some upgrades for me and fixed some stuff that wasn't correct on the car when I bought it. I knew it wasn't. We pulled the engine out. I had it freshened. They did the hood hinges with getting those done and little things here and there to make everything right. Put a Gardner exhaust on it. But yeah, the
I wanna
car,
take a
the
look.
car shows well. It's a real car. It's in the registry. And me and my wife drive it from time to time. It don't just sit in the garage. We take it for ice cream. The trunk was done by the Supercar Workshop because somebody had sprayed bombed this when they restored it. It wasn't correct. If you look in the trunk, they did the trunk at the restoration shop with Jamie and Joe and redid the trunk in this car to factory specs. And they've got that down to a science.
You see Yenko Camaros every now and then. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't see the Yenko Deuce Novas, at least at least the shows that I go to. And here we have 4 of them.
And the biggest question is it real? You know, is this a fake or is it real? Because they don't see them that often.
How can you tell? For us lay people that don't get to see them very
Well,
often, is there an easy way?
And I think the easiest way is to contact Marlon Spots. He runs the registry, and he has all the VIN numbers, I believe, for these cars to really tell if it's a real one. So you're better off to like hire him to go look at the car, document it, and make sure. And one of the biggest things is CBW rear, and these were Copo rears with the 410 factory heat treated gears.
Oh, okay.
They were specific for Yenko Deuces only.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
Parker. You guys keep up the great work. You do a good job.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One of the coolest displays they have here at Carlisle GM Nationals 2024 is this 3rd Gen Camaro display. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not an expert in 3rd Gen Camaros, don't really know a whole lot, but we do have someone here that could tell us a little bit, and this is Chip. And Chip, how are you?
I'm fine, Parker. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Chip does have a Trans Am here, but what I want to ask you, Chip, is can you just kind of walk us through maybe
sure.
these cars and maybe give us a fact or two or something that maybe can distinguish some of these cars from the other ones while we're here?
Everything we've gotten here is an invitational car. So these are
Invitational.
asked to become here by the GM National people and by specifically the 3rd Gen group.
Gotcha.
So everything in here has a story. This one is a really nice starter basic rally sport Camaro. So you've got the EFI engine. It's a great survivor car. It's in beautiful condition. It's a T-top car, and the lady that brought it in, it was really nice to have it here.
Time out. For the audience at home, how can we tell that this is an RS Camaro?
It'll have the RS symbols down on the side.
Okay,
So you'll have the actual emblem that'll indicate the model.
gotcha.
And they'll be down on the side. And there's some aero effects and things that went with the package as well.
And that was in 1992.
Yep.
And then what is this one behind us right here?
So this one is an 86 IROC.
Okay.
So this is the tune port injected engine.
Gotcha.
So you're going to run about 205 horse as a 305. And this is a fantastic survivor car. This
Can we take a look on the inside?
Absolutely. Yeah, come on.
And so this is Z28 here, it says.
Yes. But it's with the IROC package. So the IROC package was an add-on to the Z28. And that
Oh, I
gave
didn't
you
know that.
Yeah, that gave you more specific wheel and tire package, a handling package, some interior changes, just things that were part of an IROC package. And on the window sticker, it showed as a separate line item for IROC.
And it's an automatic car.
Yeah, the 305s could have a 5-speed. The 350 car, which was available, would be an automatic only.
Automatic
Yeah,
only.
they didn't pair the 5-speed with a 350.
Awesome. And,
So
and
and this
these,
is also a T-top car, which is nice.
I see that, yep.
And it's mean, sinister black on black.
And this one doesn't have its T-tops on it.
No.
Gives you a little bit different. And then this one says this is an RS also.
Yeah, now this is a car there's a lot of developmental stuff on it. As you read on the placard, this is a product development vehicle for Starbuck Innovative Designs. So Seth does a lot of things to this car that he can do, parts and sell things.
Oh, okay.
So it's a prototypical car that he does some modifications to get third-gen cars hopped up.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I see this one has a leather interior, and that one had
Yep. Some of them will have cloth. It
a little
was an
cloth
option.
interior.
Yeah.
That was an option as well.
Yeah. You'll see more leather on the Firebirds and GTAs and that.
And we have some of those over here, right?
And that was available as an option on Camaros as well. Also
Okay.
Firebird. So on this side, we have kind of a similar story. We have a Firebird that's the starter car, the base Firebird, EFI motor, V8. But this is the most beautifully preserved basic Firebird you're ever going to see.
Gotcha.
This is beautifully done. They've gone over it, they've painted it, they've done things to it, but it really is deserving. And in this building, they wanted to not just show all the powerful stuff. They wanted to have the cars that were what were most common in the line. We all see the Trans Ams and the IROCs and that, but the baseline cars outsold all of them in both series. In the Camaros and the Firebirds, these are what you saw on the street most of the time.
And what can you show us that's maybe different on the outside of this one compared to one of the IROCs down there?
So this was a 91, so the front end got a new redesign that year. There used to be a flatter front end like we'll see on the red one behind us.
Okay.
And then the differences really are just in the front end, the interior, and the rear end. The doors, the T-tops, a lot of things interchange between the cars. They're very similar.
Kind of like the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, the Camaros and Firebirds going back in the 60s had interchangeable parts, roofs and other things. And
This
then
one has T-tops too.
Yep. This will have a deep, and he has one side off, one side on this car, which is kind of nice.
I actually like that when
Yeah.
when they do that.
And then he has the hold down bags. When you take the tops off, there's straps that mount into here, and the tops are safe and secured in the back end. Works
And
out nice.
This car behind us is actually your car, right?
This is my car. Yes, this is what I brought from Wisconsin. 750 miles. Fortunately, I had a car carrier bring it safely. And this is a 91. It's a 5-speed convertible. They built 104 of them, and this one is 10,800 miles. I've had it since new.
Oh, only 10,000 miles.
Yeah, 10,000
Oh, wow.
mile car. So it's a preservation car. It's vehicle rarity and it's condition rarity. So it's a little bit of both.
And you were telling me something about how it was been stiffened up.
Yeah, so when they cut the
underneath
tops
here
off, you lose torsional rigidity in the car. And
Right.
You could be in danger opening the doors and it cracks in half. So underneath here, there's a rail that's about this wide. It runs between wheel well to wheel well in the rocker area. And that's the reinforcement that they would add into the car. In 91, they also did structural adhesive that went inside the body that didn't go on coupes.
Okay.
So then that gave you additional reinforcements and took some rattle out if the car got squeaky or that kind of thing. So yeah, there were a lot of things done to the conversion. It was done by American Sunroof Company in the Van Nuys area, very close to the assembly plant in Van Nuys for the cars. So the cars would roll down the assembly line as T-tops, no glass, no hatch glass.
Oh.
And then the tonneau, the spoiler pieces, and the trunk were painted at the factory, wrapped up and put in the body and shipped over to American Sunroof.
Okay.
Then they took a Sawzall and cut the
cut
roof
it off.
off.
Yeah.
And they cut it off up here. The spoiler runs the full length because they'd have to cut.
Yeah,
If you look on that one where the top goes back to the hatch, they have to cut that metal structure off, and the only way to hide that was with a spoiler component.
Yeah, I'm noticing.
put
I
that
didn't
on
even. We were talking yesterday, and I didn't even notice the way that that's built into
Yeah.
the back there. That is.
Yep.
Now, did you know whenever you bought this car new, that it was something special?
They were going to be limited availability because Camaro got the car in '86,
Okay.
but Pontiac passed until '91, when American Sunroof already had built a plant for a certain amount of capacity, and then Pontiac came up. They said, whatever additional capacity you can have, you can have. Problem being, don't let your dealers order them because we're going to have unfulfilled orders.
Gotcha.
So the zone offices preferenced and allocated the cars to the dealers based on sales volume. I was lucky that the dealer in my hometown was the biggest retailer in Wisconsin, and they got 6 cars. And the zone actually let me preference one of the 6 cars the way I wanted it.
Oh, so you
And
optioned this color with this
Right.
interior then?
I bought the car at the auto show in Milwaukee a month before.
we go over there?
Yeah, and then they took that car away. Pontiac said, we don't have enough built for the auto
Oh,
show
so you
circuit."
bought the show car first?
I bought that car that's in the picture here. And then Pontiac said, no, you can't have it. We're taking it to the next auto show.
Oh man.
So, but I said, okay, how do I get that car? Because when they preference them at the zone, I wouldn't necessarily get that. So let my dealer do that, which was really nice of them.
And what'd you pay for this thing back in the day?
These were 20, the sticker was 25,
25.
a little less than that.
A little less than that.
I got a deal, so that was nice. But yeah, that was basically the story. So I knew they'd be limited. I just didn't know how limited. So at the end of the model year, I called the Van Nuys assembly plant and I said, how many FS67s with MM5 manual? They came back and said 104. It's like winning the car lottery.
Yeah, I mean, I come to the GM show. We've talked about a lot of older cars in this video so far, but it's good to see some of the newer stuff kind of creeping up in value, or just get some sort of attention or something
in
like
interest.
that.
Everything has a cycle, and they go that 15 years or so, and they depreciate, then they kind of flatten, and at some point they start coming back up because of interest and demand.
Is this red one anything special back
yeah,
here?
This has a really special story to it.
Okay.
So Irv bought this car originally, brand new, and at one point sold it. And it went through several situations, which is probably a 20-minute story in of itself, but it was basically sold to someone who had it for a while. It was vandalized.
Oh.
They sold it. It was run into a telephone pole.
This one was found in
and
a barn,
totaled.
huh?
No, was it Ohio? Yeah. This is Ohio car. Yep. So the car sat in a barn for a while. 26 years later, Irv wanted to go and find the car, and he went and tracked it down through the VIN. Now, it was a long process, long story, but he ended up with the car back again.
Okay.
And everything that you see here over, the last 4 years was a complete home-done effort restoration by someone that really loved their first car.
I was going to say, they did a great job on this car.
The paint and bodywork was outsourced, but everything else you see here, the owner did. And he put this car back together and made it what it is right now. It's a great-looking car.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful car.
It's also a stick shift.
I didn't know it was like restored, but like,
yeah.
I seen the picture over there. I'm like, dang, dude.
Yep. It's a nice car. It's a high-end radio with a graphic equalizer. It's a stick shift. It's got a lot of nice options on it. And it's just a beautifully done car. It's like sitting brand new. I mean, these two sitting side by side, the comparative is hard to separate.
I agree with you on that.
Here it is, and you see how well one can be done.
I thought it was an original car when we walked in here.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
Yeah.
wow. Well, there's two cars outside that I want to take a look at. Do you mind talking to us a little bit about those?
I don't know as much about them as Mike does on the one. And
Okay.
I think maybe he could do a good job for you there.
Well, let's go meet Mike.
Yep, we'll go say hi to him.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is Mike, and Mike, what can we tell us about this car right here?
So this is a player's car.
Okay.
It was used as a pace car. It came from out west. It got shipped in from BC. It never got raced. So it's
Now, this is one of two, correct? Or I was told it was one of two.
yeah,
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
yeah.
And the Players was a series that was in Canada.
Yes.
Awesome.
From 88 to 92.
88 to 92.
Yeah.
And what else is kind of special about this car? It has, what is it, a 1LE, I was told, basically?
Yes.
And so we see here that they only made 111 1LEs in 89, and then this would be one of two of the pace cars that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a pretty rare third-gen Camaro then.
Yeah.
This one over here is your car, correct?
Yes.
And what can you tell us about this?
So this is an ex-player's car.
Okay.
After the Players series ended, some guys were using it as a oval track car.
Oh, an oval track car.
Yeah. So when I found it, it was in a farmer's field. It was just kind of
Really?
left there for about 10 years with no motor, no interior, nothing. It was kind of painted yellow with a paintbrush, so that inspired me to make this car come back to life. It's a tribute car to two of the guys on the race team,
Okay.
Joe and Mike. I just restored it just last year.
Would this car have been pretty competitive back in the day, or?
Yep, they were all Camaros and Firebirds in the series.
Gotcha.
So they were all the same spec motors, so they were
Understand.
pretty even.
Pretty even?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all came with a roll cage.
I was going to say, do you mind if we look inside?
You could order the car with the roll cage in it if you were going to race it.
Yeah, it's pretty bare bones on the inside there. Oh, you could order it from the factory with the roll cage.
with the roll cage, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That is cool as shit.
But when I found it, the whole interior was gutted. There was nothing in it. The Player Series, they had to keep the original interior and everything all intact.
Oh, okay.
So this it quite isn't the exact replica of the car in the series, because it does have a fuel cell in it.
I see that. Oh, so that wouldn't have been there in
That's
the
not
series.
factory.
Not fact. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I just like the fact that it's from Canada and it's sponsored by Tim Hortons.
Yep.
I think that's hilarious. Awesome, awesome. Well, yeah, we just kind of wanted to shed a little light on some of the third gen cars that they had here to offer, and I definitely think that these are one of the, more of the cooler cars here, and I appreciate your time, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's been a long, hot day at Carlisle 2024. If you guys enjoyed this type of content, please give us a thumbs up. It does help the video out. Again, my name is Parker with Backyard Barn Finds, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.